everybody. Welcome to the Segue reading series at Artist Space. We're going to get started in 5 minutes.
Like this, that's the right distance.
Okay.
Can you can manage this distance? Just leave it. You're fine. He'll manage you.
Okay.
You don't need to.
Opal, where do you want the mic placement? Like here?
So it's not in front of my...
Right here? A little higher? Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Okay. We might as well get started. Yeah, I'm going to bring, I'm hearing some feedback. Hold on, we're working out this 2 mic situation, high tech, but then later, okay. All right, anyway, James Sherry.
Thank you, Lonely, and thank you all for coming. Welcome to the 49th year of Roof and Segue. And we're going to have a lot of celebration next year, but this 1 month, December, we're going to have a full plate of wonderful events, starting tonight with Kit Robinson and Nada Gordon. Our first reader is Nada Gordon, the author of 9 books, most recently Emotional Support Peacock. It's Nada, folks. Roof has published 3 of Nada's books from the middle period of her work, Folly, Scented Rushes, and Vile Lilt, and we have them over here at the table if you're interested. Documenting a specific relationship and way of writing that develops through 3 books, increasingly rococo. And tonight we'll hear some totally new work exposed in all its auras and particulars for the first time, as well as a musical finale with the other reader, Kit Robinson. Few poets have the skill to use the whole language when they write. Some limit themselves to a vocabulary of speech, some focus on the strategies of minimalism, some avoid offense, some use constraints a la Oulipo to reduce the set or see specific kinds of combinations. Nada Gordon writes with unconstrained vocabulary, like Cochineal and Mezuzah on adjacent lines. Her poetry builds syntax that makes sense, but is nowhere to be found on poetry's main lines. Gordon uses the infinitely scalable proficiency of metaphor, showing how parallel universes operate together. Change the distance from the line, and a different reality snaps into focus. Her experiments with syntax, where sacred and absurd operate in a single zone. Abstract and documentary sit comfortably on the same subway train, and buoyancy and solemnity share the same shimmer. Usually my introductions quote from the reader's writings, but in this case, Nada wants it all to be a surprise, and I'm happy to comply. I am, of course, tempted to imitate her ornate decorations and fantastical apparatus, but instead I will simply tell you that we're honored tonight to have Nada read for us from some new and prior work, and that you'll be enchanted and exposed in a way no other writer of her generation has achieved. Please welcome Nada Gordon.
So thank you, James. You implied that I am no longer in my middle period, which means I'm in my late period. So if that is so, then I think it's time that I finally ripped up and threw away the avant-garde card. I'm going to join, as of this moment, the mainstream. And there's a kind of a shibboleth poem that you're required to write in order to join that esteemed group. And it's, so this poem is entitled Grandmother's Hands. But I think I need to, as now a poet emerita, I need to don my laurels. All right. And I should just say also that a theme of this reading is a kind of exploration of heritage and what came before. So, grandmother's hands. My grandmother's hands, all covered with sticky goo, and anteriorly with whitish bristles. My grandmother's hands, loose alabaster skin, soft as kid gloves, covered with deep-fried pork strips. My grandmother's hands, zipping open pale skin in a metal bowel. Not bowl, bowel. She then flies to art and puts on a periwig, valuing herself an unnatural bundle of hairs, all covered with powder. My grandmother's hands recognize grapes, the damp shine of a goat's new skin, all covered with sharp chips. My grandmother's hands are canaries, ready to collapse in on themselves, going screaming and weeping over the facts of the universe. Her tentacles all covered with ashes and ink, exhaustless and copious, showing forth through dandified forms the same absence of special purpose as in nature. My grandmother's hands are sibilant Persian canaries, pulling an unborn egg into the light. So, thank you. As a mainstream poet, I need to market myself better. So you may see I'm wearing, I don't know how well you can see this in this. If I get really close, can you get up close? So I'm wearing an assemblage necklace of my own creation. It's got, like a sloth and a little guy and, a half of a frozen charlotte. You too can wear peculiar jewelry of my making. All you have to do is go to Etsy, Scented Rushes. It's one word, Scented Rushes, capital S, capital R. Scented Rushes, novelty jewels for the aesthetically ungovernable. Etsy. Should I keep the laurels on? What do you think? Yes. Okay. Yeah. The caravan is full of moths. The caravan is full of moths, and my antennae hurt. Garlanded with frangibility, I want to sleep with fluttering music and not quite accurate tropes, my skin painted into bitch scales, marigold orange and Russian blue-gray. A tapestry jackalope stots, yawning its fangs into humid air. Alu gobi and alleluia, what's the difference? We could eat chaat at midnight in Minsk, or a fine pear on a bridge in Poland. Experiences whiz with time into a mere puree. Burgers with wings whiz by. Onion rings all bells at the end of time. I poke idly at the lock. Poke, poke. The lock is full of pork. The pork is full of civet. My face turns into poor quality velvet, which is not what I'm wearing, by the way, in the panoply of cycling moods. I gape at a grape, reason with a raisin, ape an apricot, give a speech to a peach. I'm in cahoots with all the fruits. Carving an eye out of a sweet potato with great precision. All the big men and their metaphorical rhino horns, they can totally fuck themselves, but not in a sensual or pleasant way. It's not as if one can simply echolocate that peppermint-striped pronking zebra of passionate intensity. Okay, but what if I did? A lifelong conversation with amusement. A furfuracious bombyx flaps against the eyelashes of the flighty muse. Vertiginous slump. A pale hair fighting all the wrong battles to the whine of a tile saw in the otherwise quiet city. Leaves of the Persian silk tree as photoreceptors, a mechanism for continuance, not actually different from other leaves. And you, partly bald, partly whistling, partly fluffy, partly unhinged. I suck my claw into the song of nothingness. Yes, I suck my claw at you. Always dehissing, hardly delible, art deliquesces, hate debuts, avidly delinquent he darkens, and desperately hissing descends, aloud, diasporic, hinged, disused, allomorphic denizens, hired disciples. Who got that? Did anybody get that? What was going on there? It was all ADHD. I have a wire in my mind that makes a big poof into galactic wildness. It drapes human delight. Crinkling in the brilliant fog, the umbellules of our basest artifice, in my humble opinion. Uncloaking the giant clock with a pain raisin, the sperm birds and their gerbil friends. The plants I live with are more silent friends, sibilant geniuses, oh, two sibilants. Plants and all my ukes stay quiet unless I take time to play with them. At night, the ukes. I proved myself a fine specimen to the cold institutions. Then my scales fell and I shivered in the dry air, an orphan foal, a bitchy ungulate fooling around with pauses. I left them coiled and dry, dizzy with a dream of submersibles in the bathopelagic zone, in the abyssopelagic zone, and then the hadal-pelagic zone. It's a nightmare, like class struggle. It's a nightmare, like class struggle. I made a mockery, of course. I made a mock-up, but why? We looked around, and then we found other jobs that might interest you. Nada. Institutions also scream coldly. Eyelids twitch in a warm, bright sea of complex lives. How many experiences in a day, sensations in an hour, distilled into curriculum vitae, to be read by robots while cuckoos wanly warble. This morning, your drone questions. Research on humility has been growing, and fast. Decluttering, is less always better? Mushrooms form on the statue of limitation. The caravan is full of moths. My birth moth is a centaur. My other moth is a barbed dragon-tail girl fluttering about at the meme stadium. There is more to the past. A long-tongued spaniel in the garden. An avant-garde metallic starling chorus, a goddess as a gelatinous blob in a real and fervid atmosphere, and her pet neon pig named Ocelli, or is it Ocelli? Who knows? Ocelli, that squeals a scary chord, A minor 11th flat 5. Quiet, piggy. The winter of our discontent led to the spring, summer, and now autumn of our discontent. And soon it will be the winter of our discontent again. This is the fascinating world of foals. I forgot to mention that the title of this reading, in fact, is The Fascinating World of Foals. And I didn't have a foal, but I have a calf, and I have, I guess you could call this a pygmy hippo foal. I don't think they're gonna balance here. No, they're not gonna balance here. Yeah. Anyway, you've seen them. I actually would really love to dance for you, but I don't have the right shoes on. So. This poem is called Like a Prayer. That's actually a good song. You know, I'm not a huge Madonna fan, but I like that song a lot. One might look very carefully in the dusty folds of a frock of a celluloid doll with permanently surprised eyes and wild hair before she self-immolates. Through the cyclone fence on the abandoned train tracks visible from Coney Island Avenue in Ditmas. In the lint traps of all the dryers in the basement. Exhaustively through Maria's yarn collection, thick cakes of art yarn, pink with yellow core, undyed silks, bright cotton warps on cones. In the faux Japanese cabinet with crocalure cranes in the drawer of thread spools, bruise violet, tea leaf brown, crushed plum, absinthe green, vellum pink, vellum pale, and peony pink. In the slippery blisses and blushes of John Keats, in the dark stone room where ancestresses dyed textiles indigo and cochineal, behind the mezuzah nail hole. You know what I forgot? Like a gimmick. Hang on. Oh, shit. Hi. You can see it, right? Behind the mezuzah nail hole, in the dark stems of the old creeping wire vine entangled with feral tea roses in front of the Murch House in Bolinas, in the paisley cashmere shawl of a highly caffeinated Honoré de Balzac, Aho silatana nava, samaloka banuye, turiya panna hiri naya naya susu, amaloka vanati. One might gaze deep into the tiny eyes of a bowl of shirasu, in the lining of Erasmus's velvet cap, into boxes of exotic pastas, strozza preti, priest stranglers, orlata di pollo, pollo, I don't know, chicken's little ear, budellini, little intestines, corallini, little coals, ziti, garganelli, gramigna, pizzoccheri, strasinati, paceri. In the gaping mouth of a homunculus, at the endless, vexing, heady float of dust motes in winter sunshine, in the armpit of Simone Weil, in a USB stick full of files named Final 2, in the interval that makes things tremble, in the globular mitochondria in Kim's poem, in the tea leaves, in a fava bean. Om kralam vilati skandara, bruta jam tala tara, viragana sunana tikila svam am bakata sunyati. One might ponder small Greek terracotta women dancing, tiny faience funerary servants, miniature sphinxes, a palm-sized goddess of victory, apotropaic eyes, multiple scarabs, shojing, little bronze men dancing or holding cornucopias, a bronze embalmer's dog, a very small terracotta pig. So where does that come from, this little quiz? Did you guys recognize that? Psychoanalysts in this room, right? That's Freud's desk, baby. Okay. O lumen fractum in ore minorum, illa verba sina verba nata per caligam tenuem spirare fac, et fiat nihilum dulce feratur. One might search the patterns in Tony's inkblot painting of Baal inside the locules of a pomegranate, Levinas's concept of eleity, penguin dust, just penguin dust, the holes of a rencon, the dazzle of the agalma, an altered sloth charm, a tiny man with a face in his thigh, the inside of the box of a tefillin, the follicles of the sideburns of Schopenhauer. Kanrokai shotan ritsu, renmue e horai shin kakurai to mio shu untai. One might examine the physics of the nurikabe, a dancing phallus, Walter Benjamin's burdensome black briefcase, the herbarium of unclean plants, TV Guide sitcom listings from the 1970s, the dried sediment of an inkhorn, plastic tubs full of silicone animal molds, the structure of a neuron, measures 23 to 31 of J.S. Bach's Chromatic Fantasia, BWV 903, one's own hyponychium. That, by the way, is the area right under your fingernail. It's called a hyponychium. Who knew? Yaleta lara mutafi salahin adara nuha wasabtu lirahimatin foka sahilin ha ein al-baharia. One might explore, under Gregor Samsa's bed, antique French fantaisie postcards of women with cat heads, little gnomes with lamps, a horse made of ladies, a baby in a pink cabbage, the 17th sleeve of Sei Shonagon, the chop shops of Willets Point, the sewn and unsewn salwar chemises at ATIF Future Fabrics and Appliances on Coney Island Avenue, the Argosy Bookshop, the back of the kitchen cabinets behind the potato starch and the baking powder, the 1968 first issue of the Whole Earth catalog, the fibrous remnants of one's conscience, Mina Loy's barometer earring, approximately 14,738 tons of diasporic objects now in space. Ming Gong Ji Sha, Wei shang bu ji, wan chen ji fan, xin zhang wu men, ji wu suo zu, yo ryo yu lai, xiao guang zha qi, luo yu bu luo, ru shi bu ran, ru shi gong ing ji wan. One might search through a collection of ammonites and petrified fish, geodes, thunderstones, bezoars, phosphori, oddly shaped corals, a mummified crocodile, nautiluses, dried chameleons, two-headed calves, animal hearts pierced by nails, a mechanical statue of Isis, singing metal birds, magnetic clocks, magic lantern slides, a speaking trumpet, a water organ, a narwhal tusk. And now I must quickly apologize to the Académie Française. Un monde intérieur, un double du monde d'en haut, mais façonné par la logique minérale et les forces obscures de la création. Les parois prenaient des reflets de verre fondu, où couraient des veines rouges sombres et des irisations dorées. Les masses de roc éclairées semblaient douées d'une phosphorescence propre, une pâleur verdâtre qui vibrait dans l'ombre. D'innombrables aiguilles de cristal formaient une forêt minérale aux transparences bleutées et aux éclats d'acier. Une vapeur couleur d'opale glissait entre les colonnes de basalte, une rougeur profonde, couleur de fournaise, montée par les fissures des roches comme un souffle vivant. À travers la pierre, on apercevait ça et là des formes fossiles luisant d'une faible lueur ambrée. Rahela nahun davra kiluna mara talani be ora hala shumra milai. One might root around in plays of signifiers, rejections of closure, migratory moons and noons, and parsimony principles, total syntaxes, poetic functions, phonic materialities, logocentric residue, mimetic doubles, constellation forms, animal becomings, involuted Vygotskian voicings, errant morphemes, paratactic cascades, nomadic predicates, swerve theory ornaments, aleatory architectures, dehiscent lexicons, and in the poetics of tininess. And in the letters before letters, in the seven-eyed stone, in the room where unborn rabbis argue, inside the chamber where letters sleep, in the corridor of inverted mirrors, in the river of shadows, in the cavern of womb light, in the black flame on the white flame, in the palace of the slanting echo, in the chamber of small faces, in the beard of the Ancient of Days, in the pearl that contains worlds, in the chambers within the heart's chambers, in the drop of compassionate dew, and in the missing foreskin. Baruch shelo nishar bamakom shehaya velo ba'alai velo yashuv im kol hadvarim hanish'arim veyesh or katan shemitgalel besafat ha'lela or no or rak zrika ktana shel davar shenishkash veyani omer hine shehu loach retuach hine hashokech mitacher mitoch haor. You know, I never went to Hebrew school. I was kind of deprived in that way. Ve'im amar lo amar li, ve'im nigla rak, lelev shenifrad, ve'od lebachar beshemo. One might look and look and look. But Zion, where's it at? Hard to say. By the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down, and there we wept when we remembered Zion, and let the wicked carry it away, iniquity, making two wrongs from wrong. How can we sing a missing song in a strange land? How can we sing a missing song in a strange land? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Nada. We're going to just keep rolling in the interest of time, but if you need to use the bathroom, you could totally do it during my intro. I won't be offended. It's right over there. My name is Lonely Christopher, and I am co-hosting this season of Segue Reading Series with James Sherry. I noticed that there are a bunch of people in the live stream today, so I wanted to mention that you too can contribute to Segue by paying the $5 door fee. Go to seguefoundation.com/donate, and you can give us $5, which will go directly to the readers. And if you want to give us more than $5, we need money really badly. I don't know if you have heard, but the government has stopped giving money to artists or really anybody. Like there was this whole thing with the EBT. They were going to shut off EBT during the shutdown. Terrible, terrible. So we're fundraising. So I would, I got to mention that we need your support financially. Anyway, onward to our next reader, Kit Robinson, who's visiting us from the Bay Area. Kit Robinson is among the best and most represented writers in the entire Roof Books catalog, having published 5 collections with the press, starting with Ice Cubes in 1987, and including Democracy Boulevard, Balance Sheet, Thought Balloon, and now his latest, Tunes and Tens. He also co-wrote the Roof book, A Mammal of Style, with the late Ted Greenwald. Other than that, he's published many, many titles, such as Quarantina, Leaves of Class, Marine Layer, Determination, and The Messianic Trees, Selected Poems 1976 to 2003. He was also a contributor to The Grand Piano, an experimental collective autobiography, San Francisco, 1975 to 1980. Indeed, he's a notable, let's say, preeminent figure in the language poetry movement on the West Coast and beyond, although I'd describe his approach to genre and form and his relationship to groups and schools with adjectives like relaxed, invitational, and expansive. He seems like a cool cucumber in a group of otherwise perhaps high-strung personalities. One always appreciates a laid-back poet, which is not to say that the work isn't blazingly smart, but so too is it friendly. I have the pleasure and honor to introduce Kit to you tonight, although I sort of wish I could just quote in its entirety the great preface to Tunes and Tens by Tim Shaner. My hope is that you will purchase a copy of the book over there, read the preface, then consume the entire thing directly. Robinson's poetics are defined as inclusive in the following way, quote, rather than situating his poetry outside the labor that dominates our day-to-day lives, he situated his practice squarely inside the machine, unquote. The poet tells us that we can dance inside the machine. In fact, we must dance inside the machine. It's the only way to counteract the twirling gears that consume us. The musicality of Robinson will be on display tonight. You know he's a musician. A member of the Californian charanga band Cale Ocho, his music making intersects fruitfully with his verse, as will be evidenced in this basement. The new collection is a diptych containing a serial poem and a long poem. Tunes, as the title suggests, is a sort of collaboration and conversation with the poet's favorite musicians, such as jazz legends Thelonious Monk, Don Cherry, and Billie Holiday, as well as figures of Cuban and African songmaking. Robinson is writing to, with, through, and for music. The more formal piece, Tens, is built from 73 10-line stanzas that promise to take us back to here, where what is, although the certainty is instantly challenged with a piquant, is what? And then a suggested answer, you make it up. These decimas contain descriptions from nature and ekphrastic treatment of Manet paintings and quotes from and references to various figures such as Woody Guthrie, Zora Neale Hurston, John Keats, John Cage, Edgar Allan Poe, Jules Verne, Robert Grenier, Karl Marx, Bob Dylan, Ludwig Wittgenstein, and quite a few others. Is poetry an inside job or a way to find out what I have to say? Writing and making music are different until they aren't. Robinson knows that, quote, you write your way out of a paper bag every time you play on your instrument, unquote. What your instrument is up to you. Part of experimenting is play, is having fun. Part of knowing is not knowing. Part of being you is me. The poet asserts, I think, therefore, of others, and that we are composite. It's funny, we think about musicians as being far more versatile than poets. You can be an individual musician, a lone troubadour, or a member of a tight-knit band, or even part of a giant orchestra. Robinson shows us how this dexterity might apply to the written word, which is less universal a sound than music, but which is also music. This summer, Robinson told Rob McLennan, I do get off on performing. So please join me in helping get off the amazing Kit Robinson.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. It's always a thrill to me to be in New York and reading here. It's just great. I'm going to read from this book, Tunes and Tens, beginning with some poems from the series Tunes, which was written while listening to music. Beautiful telephones after Carla Bley. I think to write freely, like Spinoza, but not in Latin. Rather, a desecrated English is my preferred medium. Bits of history cling to the underside of speech, a ray of hope in a glass tube. Military precision subjects the body to fits of rage. Hilarious birds flock to the Marine Band. A world of madcap humor lasts a definite while. A copycat like me enters a room after you. What happens is entirely dependent on what does not. Multiple outcomes get in each other's way. We hang out on the sidelines and follow the action on the lawns. The sun lights up the afternoon. These memories are marvelous, even if patently false. Their particulars are pure invention, composed as they are of disparate strands of multicolored fabric, a multicolored fabric of delight whose imaginary future welcomes a continuing past. Obad, after Lynn. I am concise. The world is prolix, comprising as it does The seven C's, a gram of cocaine, Jiminy Cricket, transcendentalism, the horse you rode in on, flapjacks, pieces of eight, titanium rods, ambergris, Alicia Keys, color field abstraction, a straight flush, appendicitis, Monte Alban, sugar smacks, Santa Anita, cumulus clouds, road maps, Don Quixote, a pair of pliers, flight simulators, Tenochtitlan, Grauman's Chinese theater, the Plymouth Hoe, California poppies, and trigonometry, in no particular order. Now let us inspect these apparitions in the light of day. But first, the morning pills and morning news. Some tears well up as posts from friends of Lynn are read. But first, a cup of coffee and a chat with Ani. Full moon last night has been replaced by plucky sun, ready for anything, to toast it with big love. Rivers of irritation undermine the arrangements. Condolences come pouring in, a swirl of bedclothes in the corner, a prelude to making the bed. Mariama Kaba, after Boubacar Traoré, who, as you may know, is a blues artist from Mali, a singer and guitar player. A heavy melancholy dogs my steps from chicken scratch yard to desert trek. A lonely path, a sorry dance, from Bamako to Paris, France. Always a visitor, never at home. When I leave this place, which way shall I go? Is this all there is? What can I say? A rag to wipe my tears away. The problem stems from an ancient curse. To talk about it would only make it worse. Soon it will be time for me to be on my way. We will see one another day. Stellar Jays after Neely Tchaikovsky. I have my second cup of coffee by the handle, one of many paths to enlightenment, according to Hebraic bodhisattvas at the Greyhound station in San Bernardino in the 50s. On Red Mountain, up at the summit, a dusting of snow, campfire smoke, my solitary inspiration when all else is set aside to make room for an archive. How many nights and days are going to pass us by? Dreams of Bob Kaufman at the Trieste, plenty of time for another cup, or cross the street to City Lights, House of Ferlinghetti. You packed it all in to your poems with breathing space, bad eyesight, love of the greats, infirmity, enthusiasm, style, wild, hairy brainchild moves. You skipped, interiorly bound, until discovering the perfect cave for living and dying. Plato was there, and Wim Wenders' smile. Sleeping off a film script in the dawn, all rolled up in a ball of light, one dimly espied from across the yard where stellar jays make hay. I don't know how to tell you this as you are gone from sight, but not from hearing, the thrum of the voice awake in the head. You don't know what love is after Billie Holiday. Unless you learn the context, Mondrian's Broadway Boogie Woogie, a gridwork of red, yellow, blue, black, and white that amounts to a city crowded with solitude. How lips taste is the juice of speculation. I guess you flipped your heart and lost without a single thought of reminiscing. Red square, black square, of Malevich, the very measure, of space, white, a wall of ambient sound, to the left, people, to the right, none. The taste of tears is salty. The feel of sleepless eyes is nowhere. A trumpet solo is all you know of what love is. Chimurenga Rebel after Thomas Mapfumo. Everything that happens millions of times, as your time and my time are entirely different, and yet one and the same. The line curves with the earth, a coat of many colors, clinging to a rock, hurtling through space. The straight line, too, is circular. The return of the chorus anchors us in this space, a groove at one with time, where we can be together in the river's flow. Carried along by the current battle for liberation that is our life on earth is framed in the small actions of the everyday. A phone call from the beyond, a dream of a tall stranger walking alone in a town, seashells in a coastal road, distant music. Let the dancers have the floor. They know how to use it. The sky is a tent, a big tent of clouds to shade the dancers. This next one is called Este es nuestro Changui, after Changui Guantanamo. Changui is a musical form in the eastern part of Cuba. It's party music, and it's played by peasants who work in cutting cane. They work all week, and on Friday they come home and start a party, and they dance and drink rum and play this music called Changui, and they don't stop until Monday morning. This road we are going on stretches out in advance of our going. Of hills and waters, it is the very knowledgeable guide. We stop only to go hard into the starry night, to the lady of our midnight hour, the child of our morning, the man of noon, this road, this road. Skin of our skin, sliding down the scale, from rich to poor in a day, abandoned to dreams at night, we move against the times, absorb the taste of flames, stoop to enter the door, sit among revelers, march with the masses, happy to be with the people. The call of the instruments is heard in the air, a joyful sound from somewhere over there. The neighbor must be sawing or turning on the tap. We live in the busy city, the densities over the top. Whenever you get here, we will be glad to see you. Okay, so now I'll read some of Tens, which, as Lonely said, consists of a lot of 10-line stanzas or decimas. And I'm just going to kind of dip in and out. To write like a mad one must write every day, day in and day out of sheer desire with no object. Objects are overrated over the long haul. Haul away these broke-ass signs, these memories piling up in the ozone layer. Starting from sleep, the engine of last night's dream purrs over beaches, mountains, monasteries, the natural world of relations, drum to voice to flute, a long tone in an open field. Meanwhile, rumors of war prolong like melancholy, dozing under certain grief, much to the prophet in arms. Nothing is the same to more than one person. There is no single face in nature. Every eye sees from its own angle, for the night has 1,000 eyes, and 1,000 eyes can't help but see. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy. Every man's spice box seasons his own food. I pick up reflections of the life around me and absorb them according to my inside juices. As Zora Neale Hurston. Colossal sculpted heads carved from tons of basalt represent Olmec leaders wearing leather helmets of ball players, an inscribed staircase built at Yaxchilan to honor Bird Jaguar the Great, who kicks a huge rubber ball containing the body of his rival, Jeweled Skull, the central feature of a carved lintel on a nearby temple. Wars are contests of injury. Anyone killed or disfigured remains so, even if largely theatrical, as in Homeric-style warfare, where heroes taunted, jeered, and occasionally threw javelins or shot arrows at one another. Sovereignty, bureaucracy, and politics, types of domination grounded respectively in the use of violence, knowledge, and charisma, form the three-legged stool of the state. Politicians on both sides have hoodwinked their people. Now all must suffer. How many people can this world hold? A woman holding a child, a man holding another man in contempt, a child climbing over a pile of rubble, regional conflict, rumors of war, pulse of big city vibration. The space between days, the day the earth stood still, channel switching, night of the living dead, the space between life and death, between words and things, the spaces between people, between things to do on Mars, between language, thought, and reality, the spaces between peoples. I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore, of others. I is another, and so is you. We reverberate in a group orchestration of otherness that sounds like something else, including plants, animals, rivers, and mountains, languages, regions, nights, and days, is another way to put it, at home in the cosmos. Goods and services, no self without an other, shiny surfaces, away with nervousness. Take it like a mother, no walk in the park, when on we go, on the count of one tangled afternoon in Tokyo. The mind-body extends from the Earth's core to stars fleeing each other at the speed of light. In a time of destitution, it resembles an empty husk. Other times it fills with impressions, colors, sounds, tastes, delights. Who is this one who has braved the passages of time, who stands before you with open mouth to speak, then slips into the shadow of a doubt? The sun breaks up into a river of gold, then cascades down through a landscape of darker and darker matter. Everything is getting more chaotic, not just healthcare, but everything. The weather, for example. Mountains of prose collapse into rivulets of real time. We try to figure everything out before it trickles through our fingers, but it ain't easy making a go of it out here in Antropica, the land of what once was. The idea of writing and writing are not the same. The idea of a river and a river are totally different. A river requires tributaries and a mouth. An idea needs someone to occur to. The mouth is speaking, but it's only words. If I could, I would sing you a melody so mild. How many different kinds of bird have occupied these trees? The idea of a poem and a poem are next door neighbors. There is no such thing as silence. Someone or something is always making a sound. I see little point in the things I do. I detach and float somewhere out of reach of signification, where voices are shadows of disbelief. I circulate, a shark in a tank, a letter enclosed in a word. Incident brain flash report, walking down Washington Avenue. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. An equal sign is a landscape, horizon of sea and sky, without a net. Haiku, crouching under a bridge, memorializing the time. Meanwhile, and there usually is one, much to say, more to write, still more to keep in the head. That bank of sights to be realized at some later date. Always accumulate, never retreat. On we go, who carry you hence. Being with fire, being with water, being with trees, standing still for long periods of time. Try to forget who you were by the end of the long sit, wandering through worlds, too many to count. Water collects in beads on leaves. So that's tens. And I want to close with some poems from a new chapbook that has been published by Pat Nolan in Monterey, California, his Neo Mimeo Editions press. He puts them out online in a nice format, which is sort of a typewriter face. And this work is called Quaking Aspens. And I'll read you some samples of it. Getting some exercise. Getting some exercise out in the yard, the prison house of linkage, binds you to the past, a chronicle of rocks, hard pressed by time, when only a miracle can save you from sunset, as beautiful as it may be. Lasting impressions rework the body to release prime numbers in an arithmetic of movement not dissimilar to those of the 60s when the shit hit the fan. Solidarity raised one beautiful fist, nothing to lose but your chairs. A working premise is enough to go on. From there you must find your own way. Improvisation is how we live, a measure of the distance from prescription, angling out to the borders of reasonable expectation. We always expect to reawaken when we lie down to fall asleep. Sleep well, we tell each other. The result, emerging from dreams, a kind of clearing. Quaking aspens. Tremors and tigers split the difference, split logs for fire for winter's foretaste, leaning on a shack or a stack of 45s. I wouldn't try that if I were you. And I am, in this case, since you are my likeness, my bro, hypocritical to the last, striped to the classical mast. Untimely rigors strip the mind of ballast. Before a short count triggers the song, we sing all together in reckless abandon, giving as good as we get. Centuries pile up in the blink of an eye. The decision point slides to the future, futures in silver, gold, and roofing tiles. Wet weather has a way of getting under the skin, a mind of its own, in love with the prospect of release. You go your way, I'll go mine. I never meant to tie a knot, but love wove a charm when you fell into my arms. The typical Sunday morning television brings heated competition to a cup. The sky shifts from gray to blue and back. We look all around and make it all up. Restitution. Our work is to return complexity to the world. Denise Ferreira da Silva. Neither a robin nor a cardinal bee, but live between the lines, a deep breath in a shallow ditch, lighting the lights with the attitude of tumbling dice. Your posture suggests that of a flowering tree, animate to the point of dance, in a filtrating wind, never to be the same thing twice. Don't cry for Louis Chicago. The face in the potted plant reminds the agitated caretaker of childhood tantrums cut loose in an ordinary day's work. Not less because in azure we descend. A slap in the face of the clock reminds us of holidays in the sun we had only just come back from when the factory whistle signaled high noon. Whether you believe it or not, the simple sentence registers to vote in favor of life on Earth as opposed to moonlit miles stretching out to the horizon. School of Scup. Contradiction clogs the railways in a narrative of contrabass proportions. You wouldn't say that if I were you. Next to every house, a team of experts. Wile E. Coyote runs off a cliff and keeps running until, realizing his error, he descends. The peculiarly English habit of self-suppression in matters of the emotions puts the Englishman at a great disadvantage in moments of unusual stress. Today, in the USA, is a day that will live in infamy. One congresswoman was sobbing as she left the House. Ford Maddox Ford referred to the Conservative Party as The Stupid Party. This poem is part zealous scraed, part screen door. There is a break in the action on the street below. We pause to observe the woolly mammoth stuck in a tar pit. The evil men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. And this one, I'll read two more. This one is called 76 Trombones. Robert Preston sunk his skis into the hard snowpack. Anne Margaret made a marvelous malted milk. Jock, Jill, Janie, Jingle, and Cassie were my distant cousins. Tom Terrific tore apart his terrible twos. Sam Spade asked for you last Saturday. Jorge Luis Borges was born in Buenos Aires in 1899. John Madden ate an enormous chopped salad. I was there, I actually saw that. Allen Ginsberg was pursued by a flaming Maoist whom he severely scolded. That's also actual experience I had. Dag Hammarskjöld held a seance outside of Ipswich. Benny Morey mistook a manatee for a man-child to be. Furman Eguren never forgave me for having witnessed him back down. Leopoldo Lugones wrote of the sentimental phases of the moon. Adulan Redon held opium in high regard. W.C. Handy fell asleep while waiting for a train. Cesaria Evora always performed in bare feet. Ruth Bader Ginsburg took too long to retire from the bench. Kelsey Plum scored 35 points in her debut, a WNBA record. Isaac Dennison wrote Out of Africa upon the back of a racing form. Alonzo Lonnie Johnson was known for his suave delivery tinged with humor and melancholy. Alfred Hitchcock appeared as an extra in many of his films. And this last one is called Time Was. Time was you flipped burgers, washed dishes, drove cab, handled mail, demolished offices, taught kids, wrote copy, snapped photos, got along. You built memories, not knowing what was next. In the end, your story was one of improvisation, not planning. A series of spur-of-the-moment decisions, actions taken out of a sense of adventure or survival, whichever came first. A motive to your madness, a path through head and heart. Thank you. I was supposed to say something else, which is that we're going to conclude the program with a musical performance. Got that there. Turn this on. We both play stringed instruments, as you can see. Nada's playing a ukulele. Can this go up? Yeah, that's good. Ani Robinson on maracas. And I'm playing a Cuban trace guitar.
Can you hear that?
That keeps revolving, identities evolving. This song will be resolving. Why not? Why not? Why not? You get just what you pay for. It's all that we are made for. And then we turn to vapor. Why not? Why not? Why not? We're resolutely judging and smudging our inkhorn
Butterflies are zooming and crooning the new norm. Their little faces flushing with love, they're nearly gushing. Beneath our heels they're crushing. Why not? Why not? Why not? I want to go to Mali, and then I'll visit Bali. And so I say by golly, why not? Why not? Why not? Our roof, it needs replacing. Foreclosure we are facing. We long for extra spacing. Why not? Why not? Why not? We're putting on our love hats, an act that's compelling. And we don't have no badges, we're not mad, we're just cavelling. With all that we've been promised, we're no doubting Thomas. We drink to Doc Thomas. Why not? Why not? Why not? I like to ponder karma and try to follow dharma, but all I want is shawarma. Why not? Why not? Why not? Well, Kit flew here with Ani. They might just meet Mom Donnie and sing, hey Nonny, Nonny. Why not? Why not? Why not? We're happy to be almost the utmost in pop songs. A million connotations in rotations of sing-along. This may sound like a nuisance, but really it's insouciance that borders on translucence. Why not? Why not? Why not? Wow, 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 ooh, wow, 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 ooh, wow, wow. When the gulls call, and the rains fall, and the bell sounds, why not? Madrugada, kid and nada, viva dada, why not?
In the hood, life is good, but it's over too soon.
Why not?
Still a light through the night from the man in the moon.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Why not?
Why not? Why not?
Why not? Why not? Why not?
Thank you, Nada, thank you, Kit, and thank you, Ani. Great event, and next week, please come back and bring all your friends. We will have the fabulous Sue Landers and Michael Gottlieb. So hope to see you then, and thanks for coming.